Hello there, Qckslvrslash here, and I am back from my rally. We ended up getting second place in the novice class, which I'm pretty excited about, and improved upon everything from the same rally we did 3 years ago, which was the last time I actually participated in one. So overall, I had a great weekend, and I'm back and feeling better, so I'm no longer sick. There's more news. And I've got a video for you, and today we are joined by Slippymoo and their platoon mate Messias G, who are driving the Fiji and Leander. And, well, unfortunately for Slippymoo, he got dragged into a Tier 9 match. Now, if you're in a battleship, I would disagree with driving a Tier 6 battleship with a Tier 7, but a cruiser, well, you don't really carry enough weight in your team and matter enough, in a sense, that you're really throwing yourself out, and especially in these British cruisers. Because they're support cruisers, they stand off, they're not really supposed to be, up front mixing it up sub 10k. You can get away with being really small and still doing massive damage. I know when I was small ship in a normal match, so like the Leander in a tier 8, I still walked away with 100,000 damage. And, well, tier 9s, to this thing, they're not really any scarier than tier 8. Anything that shoots you is going to penetrate you, so what's it matter if it's a little bit bigger? Sure, the shell might do a little more damage, but ultimately, pretty much anything, even at tier 6, like a Fuso, can one-shot you if he's lucky. So, really, not too big a disadvantage here. And overall, I think things are going to go pretty well. They may not be right into the caps right away, but you can see one of Slippymoo's destroyers, this Udaloy, is charged right into the center cap to pause them from capping, and that is pretty critical on Epicenter, is that a team doesn't get that cap, because once you have it, it can be so hard to unroot and capture. But I disagree with what the Udaloy is doing, charging full force right into the enemy team like that, and well, he's kind of paying the price. He's already down 7,000 damage, 8,000 damage, and, well, it's not going to be too long until he's dead. And just wait for it, 1,800 damage, he's going to go any second here. So I really disagree with the Destroyer's charge there, and that is an absolute waste of a Tier 9 vessel. So, people may get on to divisions like this where one is a different tier than the other and they get dragged into the worst possible matchup. But the reality is, Messias and Slippymoo, they're both still alive. That Udaloy wasted a tier 9 top tier destroyer that really had no right charging like that. I think he just said, screw it, I'm going home. And what a waste. What an absolute waste. The Udaloy should be standing off, do distance from afar at first, or sneak around a corner to ship, not drive through the open ocean in the middle of the map. The only real saving grace is they're about to lose at Low Yang, which, if they can at least even out the destroyers, well, they have some hope. And you can see Slippymoo has chosen to pick on that Fubuki. Got 1,000 damage with the first volley. No shells landed out of the second. But you're really about to see what the British cruisers do best. And I know I've shared plenty of videos, and that is pop the smoke and just let the guns go to work. The Atlanta is getting into radar range here, so there is always the risk of that. That assumes the Atlanta is running the radar consumable. Otherwise, the rest of that enemy team is too far away to really do anything about this. Now, I will say this. One thing I would like to have seen out of Slippymoo and Messias is use your smoke in conjunction. They each popped their smoke, and sure, they made 2 spots. So they have a little more room to work around him, but the smoke's going to wear out, and they're going to have nowhere to hide. But at least before then, that Atlanta is going to be toast. So things aren't looking too bad. They get the Atlanta, they've lost a friendly cruiser in the process, but, well, like I said, kind of, in a way it's just a DD they're down, and, well, it was a stupid DD to begin with. So, not a huge loss. They still have 2 destroyers, and that Lo Yang is on low health. And they're starting to work on that Izumo and Bismarck, and I just love these, you know. It doesn't really matter what the target is, you're gonna do some damage, and they are. You can see he's up to 9,000 damage, now it's a Tirpitz. Tier 8 battleship, he could see that anyways, and as long as you hit the superstructure, you're gonna do damage like that. 2,000. I know battleships that struggle to do 2,000 damage to a Tirpitz sometimes because they don't know where to aim. So, really, nothing wrong here. Other than the fact that he just ran out of smoke, and that Tirpitz appears to be looking straight his way. The only saving grace may be the fact that it looks like Messias just ran aground, and, you know, ships are always going to shoot at someone aground over someone running away, and the higher tier vessel that is really quite frail. So, Slippymoo's going to get away here, but he's going to lose his division mate in the process, and that always sucks. All those torpedoes missed. I would have liked to see a bit of a wider spread there. You know the Tirpitz is a quick ship and can maneuver. Odds are he could end up dodging that, as he did. Bismarck's over there too. Has a hydroacoustic search. So, spread it out a bit. Go for the luck chuck over the tight group. Big damage, I think. At least that's my strategy. Open ocean, I spray them all about using that single fire. If you're in close, definitely I use the single fire all on the same bearing to mess things up. But wide out, I mean, I'm sure I'll share a replay at some point. I'm just clicking randomly everywhere I can because, well, me randomly selecting somewhere is about as effective as trying to predict an aim sometimes. He does get the rest of the torps in the water, though it looked like the Tirpitz was already turning. He's gonna run himself aground here, but there's worse places to be grounded than behind an island, with the enemies really having no shot. And in 28 seconds, he's gonna have his smoke again, and you can guarantee he's gonna find a position set up to just start doing damage. His torpedoes are actually looking great because the Tirpitz doubled back straight into the line of fire and touched down. There's a kill. 3 torpedo hits, he's up to 54,000 damage and kills a tier 8 battleship, already starting to punch well above his weight. And things are only going to get better from here because he's got the smoke again, he's got a Bismarck that's purple spotted by friendlies, and he can just sit here and let those guns sing until the barrels are glowing red. And that Bismarck is the focus of a lot of hate, yet he's still just kind of sailing into it. And from what I can see, that Bismarck also isn't a secondary build because his secondaries should be shooting at things right now if you were a secondary build, and they're not, so that's actually kind of a huge sigh of relief for Slippymoo here because, well, if he were to get spotted somehow, whether it be Hydro or something, those secondaries can really pick apart these British cruisers. He just keeps on firing his guns as he needs to. I suspect right here he's kind of watching the range of that Bismarck. You can see he's slipping forward again, and hopefully is ready with that W key to just put the pedal to the metal and get out of here before the Bismarck closes inside that like 5.5 hydroacoustic range thereabouts. Personally, I'd be well on the move before they get into 6 kilometers to just not risk it and give myself some maneuver space. And that's exactly what he does. There's also an unspotted enemy destroyer, so sitting in smoke, not the safest thing to do, and ultimately I think Slippymoo makes the right decision, and that Bismarck is not long for this world. And hopefully this Lo Yang isn't either. If they can get the Lo Yang, they're even on ship kills. they get the Bismarck, they're even on ship kills, they'd actually go ahead. And you can see what I'm talking about that center gap. The enemy team has it, and because they have it and their ships in it, they're starting to capture the progressive rings further out, and it can just become a pain to stop that point climb. They're ahead by one ship right now. Oh, sorry, they're behind by a ship. My mistake. Don't know what I was thinking there. Hopefully they're about to be even on ships. Slippy uses his hydro and is chasing down this Kagero, which is really one of the best things these British cruisers are good for, is just ripping apart destroyers, because that quick detonating AP shell just really does some damage to the destroyers, and you've got the hydro, and right now Slippy is going to be able to slip inside that enemy smoke screen and, well, go undetected with, well, at least partial vision out of the screen thanks to his smoke, or his hydro. Enemy Iowa gets detected. Slippy wastes no time getting some shells at. He may be chasing down a destroyer, but, well, with the reload on these, you just keep the guns firing. It doesn't matter what the target is, you're going to do damage, another 2,000 to an Iowa. And that's really one of the reasons I love these cruisers. You just kind of do consistent damage. It may not be big damage, it can be, but for the most part, it's just consistent. Another 4,000 out of that volley, and hopefully about the same out of this next one, though. Only 1,000. So he's averaging about 3 grand per volley, and that's when the destroyer gets respotted, though it doesn't look like Slippy has seen that yet. Still backing up inside the smoke, and it's right about here that really he sees it. And personally, I think I'd be considering charging out here. You can see the smoke is dissipating. He's got that Kagero in sights. You don't want to give up this chance to kill a Kagero. Tier 9 torpedo destroyer will wreak havoc on your battleships, and you can see he's getting 2,000 damage a volley pretty easily here. And one more good hit and he should have the kill. That secondary is actually looking half decent. Will he get it? Under leads, and friendly Fubuki finishes the Kagero off, but now they're capturing. He's got another smoke up because, well, he was using an enemy one, and oh no. Time to turn up those beats, and dodges the one, but he almost turns into the other, but just misses it. I think there's a bit of a luck involved there, and right now I would be setting up shop just like he is. Got a pair of battleships easily inside range, and you need to capture this point. They've gone ahead on kills, but they're only 4 points ahead because of, well, the capture point. Fortunately, they're 4 battleships against 3, and, well, they've still got 2 destroyers, so things are looking good for Slippy here. Really, it just comes down to getting some more damage on the board. Side on Izumo, pretty decent target. One thing I will mention, though, I find I have trouble doing as much damage to the Japanese battleships simply because their superstructures aren't as substantial. They have very tall, like, singular towers there, but they don't kind of have that collective superstructure that the Germans and Americans have, and often I can have trouble just finding that spot. He picks up the kill on the Izumo and is up to almost 83,000 damage, which really solid game, especially when you're a tier 6 ship in a tier 7 game, and I hope he's putting anyone on his team who, you know, was like, oh great, we got the fail division. Well, this hasn't been a fail division at all, and ultimately I think that says something about divisions. It comes down to the players more than anything. I know people who in a Umakaze could wreck everything at tier 10 as long as they stay out of radar range, which could be a little tricky because you only have those 8-kilometer torpedoes, but some careful choices as to where you drive, and you could do a lot of damage at tier 10, and I've seen Umakazes rip a Yamato apart. Just picked a Yamato, sat there, firing torps, and sure, they don't do a ton of damage, but it adds up, and as do the floods. kind of like Slippymoo's damage has been adding up over this entire battle. He's up to 88,000, almost 89, and the enemy ships are just slowly disappearing. Things are looking great for his team. This one's pretty much in the bag at this point. Take a bit of a miracle to turn this one over. And realistically, the second that Amagi goes, the enemy team's done. Miyoko and York are not going to beat out the Iowa, Tirpitz, Bismarck, and Amagi they have left. It just isn't the case, especially not when they're spotted and when they don't have any cap advantage. They've lost the middle. They don't really have a way to kind of prolong the game. There goes the Amagi, and, well, now it's just a matter of time. You can see they're in the middle. They're getting all the rings now. This one, it's in the bag. And Slippy, you've played a great game so far. Gonna milk a little extra damage out of that York. And, well, from here on out, nothing too exciting happens. So I'm gonna call it here and skip to the post-battle screen.
And all told, I thought this was a great game. 235,000 credits, 6338 experience, 93,000 damage, got 2 kills, both ships above his weight. Granted, the Izumo he kind of just put some finishing damage into, but the Tirpitz he definitely rocked and came out in fairly good standing on his team, 3rd overall, and I think really proved that just because you're a small ship doesn't mean you can't do damage. You just have to play a little smarter. You have to be the support role. You know, pick on targets that other people are shooting at that aren't going to focus on you. Because if you try to go one-on-one with something, yeah, it's going to beat you. But 93,000 damage in a supporting role, that's significant, especially out of Tier 6 in a Tier 9 game. Thank you, Slippymoo, for the replay. If you guys enjoyed this, consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing to the channel. We're past 400 and well on our way to that 500 subscriber milestone. And as always, I'm Qckslvrslash, and I'm going to have another one for you guys later.